like to go over with you is our proposal to moving to an every Friday early dismissal for the purpose of professional development and collaboration. The hard point here that I need to make is hard for us to hear, but we need to admit it. Although we like to celebrate small achievements and growth in our district, and although we are very proud of ourselves and our people and our students, we do have to take a cold, hard look at the fact that we are overall pretty stagnant in our achievement and growth. And that really isn't fully connected to the pandemic. There are some other cold, hard things we need to look at. It would be easy to ignore and just smile and nod and say, we're good enough. But the data is telling us that that can change. So what we're proposing and the why of what we're proposing is really to bring that back, that quality professional development, quality collaboration. We know that research says stronger teacher efficacy and rich instruction equals the ability for students to continually grow and improve. We just continue to improve that environment. We need to find a way to get some kind of momentum with our goals, more connectedness as a staff, more time to align our resources, our curriculum, and our instruction, and more clarity in our communication. Right now, in our current professional development and collaboration schedule, almost none of those are happening. We know that, let me just pause that for a second and go to the research that was conducted behind this calendar proposal. Guys, I didn't just pull this out of thin air a week ago to present. There has been a lot of work that has gone into drafting this. The work all started with the Iowa School Performance Profile that came out and starting to make phone calls to every school in every district that ranked above us. I want to know their why. I want to know what they're doing that's different than us. I want to know if they're working smarter, not harder. I want to know what their curriculum is. I want to know what their professional development is. I want to know their collaboration schedule. And most of the conversations led to their professional development and the time their teachers get to collaborate and work together. And I couldn't help but continue to look at the schedule or the calendar sitting in front of me and know that's not happening here. It's not happening for a multitude of reasons. One is the difficulty with our substitute shortage and our overage and staff absences. You're missing your prep times. You're missing time to choose to work with instructional coaches. We're not doing collaborative teaching labs anymore. We don't have growth leads. We have none of the things that years ago seemed to work to cause that quality collaboration time. Our full professional developments are sporadic and not frequent enough to gain any traction or frequency in any given topic. We're even holding back introducing new topics because when we look at the calendar and think, we're not going to talk about this again for 12 weeks, what's the point of even bringing it up? That's really hard to swallow, to know that there are things out there that we could be better at, but we don't even know how to approach it because we don't know how to support it in our current structure. There are also 2 Iowa codes that we are currently not meeting. Now, we're temporarily forgiven because of the pandemic. Whether we will continue to be forgiven or not, I honestly am not okay with it. It's fine if the state wants to continue to forgive us, but it's not fine to not have these things in place. These are 2 great practices, and we're not living up to them. Right now, we're not meeting the Iowa Code for teacher leadership. I'm not making a good faith effort to have 25% of our teachers in a role like this. Again, because we don't have growth leads, we don't have department leads, because without quality PD, what is their purpose? So I'm not just going to stick people in these positions to have them question what their role is. Obviously, we want them to feel beneficial and useful. And then the Iowa Code relating to a minimum number of collaboration time, we are not meeting that through our current professional development schedule. So the details of this, obviously, this is in draft form. It can be flip-flopped, it can be worked out, but really what we're proposing in that 2-hour time period every week is an hour of it is devoted to professional development. That professional development would be created together as a district, but delivered in buildings. So every building would be getting similar delivery, but we wouldn't be gathering everybody together because we wouldn't have necessarily time for that, right? We would focus on like one goal area at a time. So I'm not proposing like a rotational Friday thing where one Friday we work on this and the next Friday we switch and work on something else. And the third Friday is something new, because then we're not gaining traction. The idea of this is we pick like one wildly important goal at a time. Obviously, that could be different elementary to middle school to high school, but let's just pretend like in the elementary, it's number sense, for example. To gain traction of that, we have to talk about it. We have to talk about it frequently. We have to make that incremental growth to keep moving. If that is our hour topic every Friday for, let's say, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 1 trimester, 2 trimesters, heck, all year. I don't know what that time period would be, but when we focus on it and that's what we drill into, then that's where we see momentum and growth. When we feel like we're at a good point of that and it's at the implementation stage, we can tackle another goal. We can figure out how long is it before we need to focus on that. And we do one at a time to make that traction. The other half, that other hour, would be focused on your PLC, your professional learning community, your collaboration time. So these would be established groups of teachers within your building, or sometimes maybe in the secondary world across buildings using virtual via Teams, where you're given a structure to answer the questions of what do our kids know, what do they need to know, how are we going to get them there. We're not just going to turn you loose and be like, go talk, because we know that works really well with some groups of teachers, and others maybe need a little bit more structure to make sure that that conversation is moving them in the right direction. So we're looking into Corwin's PLC Plus model to bring in some training in August to make sure that we're set and able to use that time as quality time, especially when it's a Friday afternoon and maybe we're waning in our energy level and we know we have that structure to attend to. On the Fridays, it's really important because technically speaking, your data should be fresh. You just got done with a full week of teaching the students. You can bring in that formative, summative, whatever that data is, and you can, with your colleagues, help use that data to make the decisions and the lesson plans for the following week. A few other details that happen to be beneficial is there's 2 months where there's a 5th Friday in the month. These fall in September and March, which would be perfect time to allow teachers another couple hours to work on their professional learning plans. We would plan on keeping those end of trimester clerical days off where students do not attend. Specifically, really important for our high schools to have that time for grade submission and to transfer over to a new course load if they start new classes the 2nd or the 3rd trimester. So we would keep the majority of that day focused on teacher clerical, teacher work time, no professional development. Maybe a third of it where we might have to do like a mandatory training, like getting ready for ISASP training or things like that pop up. We would keep the beginning of the year PD days, those 3 to 4 that we typically schedule in the calendar. Those are great kickoffs to the year to really get us geared up and started. But all other full PD days throughout the year would be eliminated. Now, in these last 2 calendar years, that would only technically be like 2 or 3 days that we have scheduled in the calendar year that aren't the end of trimester days. Previous calendars to this, when we seemingly had a system that worked okay, that would be like the 1 PD day per month we used to have. We would eliminate that, given we have these every week Fridays. Now, this would cause a significant change to our pre-K world, which I want to obviously highlight because this is a big deal. We really feel it's vital for our pre-K teachers to be at these weekly PD and collaboration times. So we would have to flip-flop the way we run PK classrooms. Right now they run Monday through Thursday and our pre-K teachers have Friday off. We would just flip that, where the classrooms would run Tuesday through Friday and Monday would be our pre-K teachers' day off because they're on 0.8 contracts. So if families elect to have their students in our free 3-day program, those students would attend Wednesday through Friday. If families want to pay for that 4th day, that would come on that Tuesday. The other couple details to this would bring back those TLC roles. We would need a significant amount of growth leads in our goal or focus areas to help present with that PD and be doing the work. Additionally, we would be adding 5 minutes to the end of every school day. That's really just to continue our bank of time so that if we do have a lot of weather-related delays or whatever, we're still carrying over a healthy amount of time beyond that required 1080 that we need to have to meet state requirements. So you can read over this slide in more detail later. It's just showing you that it doesn't significantly change the amount of instructional hours we have with students. We still have a very healthy bank of time in case we had a lot of weather-related events in any given year. Fridays versus Wednesdays was something I researched greatly. This really adds for our teachers to have better database conversations, being at the end of the week and not an interruption throughout the middle of the week.
Right,
and from other districts, it's also better with families. Not to be that disruption in the middle of the week. Same with that morning versus afternoon. We know we need to work on a supervision schedule for our students, our athletic students that have practices at the middle school and high school on Fridays, and we are working on that. Small note, teachers are not allowed to keep their children with them at school on Friday on these early dismissals. You will be, with professional development groups or collaboration groups the whole time. So to have especially younger students running about the building during professional time is not necessarily best practice. This is not anticipated to cut para hours at all. Their hours would just be shifted. They would work a little bit longer Monday through Thursday, which would really help with supervision schedules and what have you, to make up for those 2 hours that they wouldn't have on Fridays. A question's been asked, do you anticipate a lot of teachers now taking even more Fridays off? And I would say, if it's the 1 or 2 Fridays where they use their personal day or whatever, that's their right. Obviously, if it becomes a trend, that's an easy answer. That is their Iowa Teaching Standards 7 and 8, and that's how we would address that. So the 2 calendar options really come down to when breaks would be, because the Friday early dismissals are in both proposals. So really the difference that we're looking at is our kind of typical typical couple days off around Easter, where we would have that Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday off, or moving to a spring break schedule like a lot of other districts around the area have, where we have a full week off in March. And that week in particular was chosen because it's kind of the dead week in between sports seasons. And then you would just still have that Friday of Easter off. That would be a day because of conferences. It would be a teacher comp day, but you wouldn't have the remainder of that time around Easter. So in the detail on this slide, you can see the breakdown that it really doesn't change that much with when students are out of school or the amount of time we have them. It just kind of shifts when that spring break is. So to provide feedback, if you go to the district website, you'll see that large yellow calendar option. When you click on that, it will enter you into that page where you will actually see both full drafts that you can pull up and compare, and then a feedback form to fill out if you want to vote on whether you like one calendar or the other. Also to provide any questions or feedback or just statements you want the board to know before they approve one of these or make major adjustments to it before or during the March board meeting. I just want to wrap up in the last minute and just say this. Guys, we get to choose hard every day. Everything is hard. It's what version of hard we want to choose. And knowing what we know with where we're at in this district, choosing not to change is a version of hard, because we would have to then live with that emotional toll of not doing what's best and choosing not to get better. Or we choose the hard of change. And I know it's going to be hard, especially at first. We have thoughts going through our mind about daycare and what this is going to do to our family schedules, and the fact that, oh my God, we have to have PD and we have to collaborate this often. That's a new level of hard, and I understand that. But knowing what I know, I need you to believe that that's the version of hard that continues to lead us to growth and achievement and the better version of us. Lastly, when you submit your feedback, please know that there are humans behind that form reading it. I've received some rather nastily, not respectfully worded feedback.
Wow.
You can disagree. Disagreement is totally okay.
She said that they got
Disagreement
feedback
causes
on this
growth.
calendar thing, and some
I'm not asking you to
really
agree with
downright
this.
mean and
I'm
rude and
just
nasty.
asking you to be respectful. We're all doing the best we can here. Thanks for taking the time this morning. I appreciate it greatly. If you want a question answered kind of immediately, the best thing would be is to email me, because then I'll get on it right away, compared to the forms, which I'm really only checking once a day because some of them are hard to read. Thanks. Have a good day.